Good morning, RWorld, and welcome back to another episode of RWorldTalk. I am excited to introduce RWorld to Mr. Anthony Lamacchia, who's come down from Boston to hang out with us. Anthony, how you doing?
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here and excited to do the interview with you.
Right on. Every time I see you, you've always got like super high energy. Are you like an early riser, one of those guys that gets up at the crack of dawn? And
I've heard that once or twice in my life, but yes, I am. I have to get a head start every single day. If I don't, the rare occasion that I go out late one night or go to a Bruins or a Celtics game or some kind of game and I get up late the next morning, the entire day it's in my head that I didn't get a head start and it bothers me.
Yeah, you feel like you're behind the eight ball for the entire day. Yep. So this is actually something new that I just started. Don't worry about it. I'm going to get to my workouts, and by the time my day gets started, you never end up getting to the workout by the end of the day. So I started getting up, 4:30, 5:30, making sure that I hit the gym, get that stuff done. But what I found is that I end up having way more energy throughout the day.
Correct.
And I get most of my work done before anybody else even wakes up.
Well, and I'll tell you, part of it I honestly think is the high you get from feeling ahead.
Yeah.
And I'm dead serious about that. And I started in this, really my whole life I've been an early riser, but I've been on the same pattern since about 2012 or 13 when I changed it from getting up at 5:30 to getting up at 4:30.
Okay.
And I've been on the same pattern. I work for an hour, then I work out for about 45 minutes, and then breakfast, shower, out of the house. That pattern works for me better than anything because what I found is I can't focus on my workout if I haven't made sure I'm caught up on my work.
Right.
And that's why I do that.
Get a couple emails done with your coffee before you hit the gym.
Yeah.
And then
No coffee for me, though.
No coffee?
No coffee.
This is natural energy.
Never had a coffee in my life.
Get out.
Honestly, yeah. Our chief operating officer, Jackie Lou, said that's the one thing that would drive her out of the company if I drank coffee. She said, I'm enough to deal with as it is.
Okay. Okay, you guys heard that right here. We found the only realtor in America that is not addicted to coffee. Okay,
Nope.
Fantastic. You're the broker owner, obviously, CEO of Lamacchia Realty.
Yep.
And Lamacchia Companies as well. So
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started.
Well, it's a lot to talk about, but I started in the business at 23 years old, 2004. I was fortunate to grow up working in a small family business doing landscape construction. So that gave me a lot of exposure to business at a very young age. What a lot of people learn in their 20s and 30s. I learned a lot of it as a teenager, so it gave me a bit of a head start. And now when people say to me, so your family started the company, right? I'm like, no, I did. But, I did get a bit of a head start in the business world. Okay. And then I started in real estate young and really just started as a realtor in 2004. Did that and worked with my dad till 06. Okay. From 06 till about 09, I just sold a lot of homes and focused on selling more and more, and then started building a team and hiring assistants and, sold a lot. We're talking hundreds of properties a year. And then I remember 2012 with 8 people, we sold 560 homes and we were the number one team up in New England and we were 26th in the country. And that was when I started to have my vision to convert us to a brokerage model because we were a team model with me doling out leads. And 2015 or 14, I had a business partner, bought him out. And then 15 got us converted to a brokerage model, which, I said, oh, that'll be easy. I'll do that in 6 months' time. Now nothing's easy.
No, that doesn't happen.
Took a few years and to get it right and to get the numbers to be favorable again. It was a tight few years, but I was committed to it. And by the time we hit about 18, or even late 17, we really started scaling and grew the company a lot. And now today we have over 500 realtors. We serve 5 of the 6 New England states. The only one we don't serve is Vermont. And also South Florida. As you know, we're coming up on 3 years almost of being here.
Right.
This fall will be 3 years of being in South Florida. And we opened our office here in about 18 months ago, and it's going good. I'm happy with it. I want to get that good to great, and I think we're headed there. There's some things we're working on that I think will get us there, but I'm very excited about it.
Well, fantastic. We're certainly happy to have you as an RWorld broker. And you're also traveling around teaching people how to crush it in real estate. Right?
Yes. So when you say Lamacchia Companies, we have other ancillary businesses. Lamacchia Realty is obviously the largest, but Crush It in Real Estate is a real estate training company, and we have training customers all over Canada, all over the United States. And we sell our sales training that I created back starting in 2012 and 2015 by accident. A friend of mine in Virginia, I remember the conversation. He says, how are your agents converting 10% of Zillow leads and mine are converting 1%? And I said, well, it's our training. And he said, what do you mean your training? And we got into talking about the specifics. And he said, and this is in 2015, he said to me, didn't you say you're Skyping your training to another one of your offices? Because in 15, we had one branch office. Now we have 12.
Okay.
He says, how about you Skype it to my office in Virginia? And I said, okay. And we did. I charged them a monthly fee. And they did it, and their business grew 38% in the first 6 months without any additional realtors. And when that happened, I said, okay, I can duplicate this and offer it out everywhere. And that's part of how Crush It in Real Estate was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've had some explosive growth here at Broward Palm Beaches and St. Lucie Realtors. So some people who are listening might not know what Skype is. It's the old Zoom.
You got that right.
Yeah. So you're talking, obviously, in order to create companies like this, you've got to have some serious vision. So tell our viewers, listeners, how important is vision and being able to see down the road, create new paths and innovative systems in the real estate industry?
Well, I mean, obviously you have to have all of those components in order to be able to do it. And I'm certainly someone who envisions the future and actually pictures myself doing things. I remember 10, 15 years ago envisioning, oh, geez, I do these trainings to 5 or 8 people and it changes their lives. I need to do that to 400, 600. And now when we put on our annual Crush It in Real Estate event, we have over 700. When we put on our Crush It event here in South Florida, we started it 2 years ago, but last September we had 335 realtors attend, you know. Wow. So it's I see it, and then I usually, not always, make it come true, but I also do that from the great people that I have leading the companies with me, like Shane Bronson, who's going to be our, or is now getting appointed as our Florida Regional Vice President here.
Awesome.
You have to have, I cannot do all this myself. No. So even though I'm the one in the limelight the most, naturally, because my name's on the door, you have to have great people that can execute things and execute visions. And I'll tell you, as the years go on, our executive team, many of them, and managers, they have as many visions as I do. And then we debate about which ones to put in place. And, you know, some work, some don't. And the ones that work, everybody finds out about. The ones that don't, we might have a down minute or two or hour internally, but we move on and try something else.
Okay. Every time I see you, it seems like you've got an entourage of people around you.
Well, that's not totally on purpose, but we have a great crew, and I'm very proud of them.
You do. And thank you. I saw when you came to the installation back in January.
Yep.
You showed up. You had like your whole team.
The whole table.
You.
Yeah.
Got to meet your legal team and everybody. It was quite the spectacular show.
Mike, our general counsel, was the general counsel of the Massachusetts Association of Realtors for several years.
Okay.
That's how he knows Matt Ledger here. And, you know, Matt does a great job. And I asked Mike to come with me and John and then told our agents and encouraged them to come. And I'll tell you, being involved in the realtor associations and the markets that we are in has been a major component to our success. Absolutely. And I will tell you, one of my biggest regrets, and you haven't asked me that yet, you've been easy on me so far. Okay. But one of my biggest regrets is I got in the business in 2004. I didn't get involved in the Realtor Association until 2010, 11.
Right.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, you're missing out.
Had I got involved sooner, I would have had other successes sooner. And that's why when we embarked on the voyage to open in South Florida, which, you know, of course looks easier than it is, something we were very committed to was getting involved down here. And I was fortunate to somewhat know Deanna and Kim, and they're wonderful, great leadership. And, you know, you're in as president this year, you're doing a terrific job. Thank you. But I can't emphasize enough to those listening, if you're not involved in the Realtor Association, you are making a mistake.
Big mistake.
And and it's one of those things that I feel like, Chris, you and I, we can talk, both of us, we're convincing people, but we'll never be able to get people to quite get it until they're in. Yeah, exactly. Once you're in, you see it better. But from acquisitions to just contacts to helping our agents get to know other agents in the market, it's such an important component. And I can't recommend it enough. Yeah, and when we're involved, you know, we just got back from legislative meetings in D.C., RLM meetings. I mean, when you're there, you're able to, I mean, you're so in the know, you see what's happening, like at the moment it's happening. It's not like you're hearing this stuff from Inman or from Riz Media or whatever. I mean, you're literally in the room where the decisions are being made. And I'll tell you something that I've admitted in years past. I was one of those people when I got in the business that every year when my dues came, I would complain about it. Yep. And then I got involved, and 2011, I believe, or maybe it was 10, I went to DC to the legislative meetings that you and I were just at this week. And I said, oh my God, I can't believe we're only paying $500 a year. I didn't know we were getting all this.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel that way until I got involved. And look at you and I. You and I had said hi once or twice in passing over the years, but we got to actually know each other when we spent some time for a couple hours with others. Last year, after our day full of meetings, we got to meet. And so I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of mutual respect that's gained when you go and volunteer your time and you're in the room making those decisions and doing the committee work to whatever it is that you happen to be involved in and whatever you're passionate about, whatever's driving you. You go there and do that work and you get to meet some really fantastic people that are like the movers and shakers of the industry. Then you come back home and you're able to connect with those people. If you've got some sort of an issue, you've got a fantastic broker. I mean, I surely would reach out to you if I wanted to scale my business and try to open up 12 different offices. I'm going to find out exactly how in the heck I'm going to do that. But it's great to be able to walk those halls and meet those people and make sure that you're in the know and you're in the room where the decisions are being made.
And the other thing, last point I'll make on this, not only you meet the leaders in the Realtor organization, but the more you get involved, all of a sudden you start meeting people that run the country.
That's true.
Right? You meet senators here or there. You meet congressmen. You meet people from regulatory agencies. And I've been fortunate to be involved in many of those meetings in the last 10 years, in particular when COVID hit. And I remember being in touch with a lot of different people. And I thought to myself, if I hadn't been involved for the last 10 years, I wouldn't be part of these conversations right now.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's actually funny because sometimes you get to meet these people and you know that they've got ambitions, and then a few years go by, and next thing you know, they're a senator or they're a representative, and you're like, "Wow, that's my buddy that's now sitting in that chair."
You said it.
It's really cool.
Said it.
So obviously, we'll get back to you and your business. You've created a successful business model in the Northeast. Obviously, you're bringing that model or have brought that model down here to South Florida. Yep. So why South Florida? What motivated you to come down to the Sunshine State and why Broward County, Miami area?
Well, first of all, who doesn't want to be in South Florida? Every time I'm here, I open the curtains in the morning and I look out and I'm like, God, it's beautiful looking out over the water. It's a beautiful place. But you ask a good question, and I didn't just throw a dart at a map and decide on South Florida. There was a little more thought that went into it. Okay. Not a ton, but a little bit more. But one of the agents that was with us for several years up north, Amy Belchunas, and she's a very good agent. She was with us up north. She moved down here in about 2019. Okay. And she went to a couple of different companies, and she called me in June of 2020. And she says, hey, Anthony, just checking in. How are you? Good. How are you? She said, Anthony, I missed the company. I missed this. I missed that. And of course, I'm thinking, oh, she's moving back. This is great.
Yeah.
I said, you moving back? She goes, hell no. She says, I'm not moving back. She said, but you always said you wanted to open in Florida. I remember where I was in my car when I had this conversation. I know the street I was on. Okay. So we talked about it, and I hung up, and I said, a lot of people are going to Florida, especially now that COVID hit.
Especially from your area, too.
You're right. So I went back to my office, and I talked to a manager, Sarah, and I said, hey, Sarah, I got a question. Florida is still our number one outgoing region for outgoing referrals from our relocation department, right? She runs that along with Shane. That was Shane's prior job prior to becoming vice president for Florida. And she says, I think it's Miami, Fort Lauderdale, but let me get back to you in 10 minutes. I'm just in the middle of something. I said, okay, I go down to my office. She comes walking in 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, she says, it's Miami, Fort Lauderdale by far. We have the most referrals there. I said, really, how many? She starts telling me numbers. I said, it's great that we're referring business out, but let me think about this. Amy's there. And then I start thinking, I know someone else there. I know someone else. I know someone else. And I said, geez, maybe we ought to do this. And that summer, I dove in, worked on getting a Florida real estate license, which was not easy. It ate up my summer. I had to redo the broker exam, and I hadn't done that in 11 years, but obviously I got it done. And in October 2020, we opened, and within 4 weeks, we were clicking sales out. And, we're getting there. It's not one of our biggest offices, but I'll tell you, and this is something that I love about South Florida, because this also weighed into my decision. It's probably among our 12 offices, it's probably in the middle, okay? Or maybe the lower third some of the year, but all of a sudden it's climbing lately. And what I love is way less seasonality in Florida than up north. Totally. So in February and March, it was in our top 3 or 4 offices company-wide. Why? Because the seasonality hits us so incredibly hard up north in the winter months. And you guys have what, a slow 30 days over the holidays here? Exactly. I mean, it's amazing. In New England, it doesn't work like that.
You get spring and fall market, right?
So that's something that attracts me dramatically. Also, 41% of the population in South Florida is, or Fort Lauderdale in particular, is from New England. So, and I've been on television doing television advertising since 2006 there. So we're a household name in New England. So all of these different components made us always say we were going to end up in Florida, and that's pretty much how it happened. That's why it happened in South Florida first. But our goal is, I hope I'm sitting here with you in 10 years talking about how we did a podcast interview once upon a time when we had one office. I hope in 10 years we're talking about how we're in every major city in Florida. That's my hope.
Fantastic.
We'll see how I do.
Hey, I wish you all the best.
I said
with that one.
I made the goal public, so hopefully it comes true.
Yeah, you're a good dude. Go make that money.
We'll see.
So talking to, you just mentioned Amy. Obviously, she was doing fantastic for you up in Boston.
Correct.
You had enough faith to open up an office for her down here. So, in your opinion, what we're going to talk about realtors in general? What are realtors in general doing well, and what could they improve on? What did you see in somebody like Amy, and what do you see in other realtors down here that they need to improve?
Well, other realtors across the country.
Across the country,
right? Not just down here, but number one, you have to be willing to pick the phone up and actually dial it and put it to your ear and talk. That's number one.
People forget it's a relationship business.
I always say use the phone for what it was originally intended for, right? And I'm guilty too, Instagram, Facebook, right? But you have to dial it and talk. So that's a big thing. The other thing is be willing to participate and go to things. You know, Amy's a perfect example. She's someone who moved here with not one friend, not one contact, nothing. Now she's selling homes every single month. Broward Real Producers did a nice story on her about how she moved here and took her business off. And you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And if you're not the type of person that's willing to do that and be a people person and get to know people, then you're going to have a hard time in this business.
Yeah, you're a sitting duck.
Yeah, and also, and it's even more important lately, I did a training tour event yesterday. You really need to know what's going on in the market, especially now. We just went through, about 3 years of fear of missing out of buyers, or call it 2.5 years, or 2 solid years of fear of missing out that buyers had. Well, now we're back in a market where buyers are, is the market going to crash? Sellers are, well, what about my interest rate? You need to know the data. You need to know how many homes are getting listed, how many are going pending, how many are selling, what the average prices are. And you need to be able to know it, not just like in passing. You need to know it so you can explain it to your clients.
Real time, yep.
And what a terrific job the Florida Association of Realtors does putting those reports out every month.
Yep.
I get the email every month and I sit there and I scour over it and we take the data and put it into our own and it's terrific data. So if people are willing to do the work, you can be very successful in this business. But that I just mentioned, if they're willing to do the work, willing to dial the phone, willing to get out and meet people, that's a big one.
So I'll give you a tip. Florida Realtors does send out the market stats. We've got Sun Stats through Florida Realtors as well.
Correct.
But here locally, we actually have you could go to the Apple store, you can go to the Android store, you can go to Roku TV, and if you search RWorld Realtors, we actually have all of our videos. These podcasts are on there. And then as well, we've got all the market reports. So you could find out county by county what's happening in St. Lucie, West Palm, Broward County, and know exactly what's happened month over month, year over year, and see all of those stats, percentages of change, exactly how many homes we've sold in the last 30 days, percent of sale price to list price, all that sort of stuff, and you've got it right on your fingertips at your phone. So if somebody's asking you a question, you could cheat a little bit and have your phone out and be like, look it through the market reports. So
that's a perfect example of what I'm saying when I say people are not, a lot of agents, particularly when they're newer in the business, they're not seeing what all the Realtor Association does for them.
Right.
And I will be downloading that app today when we're done here.
Of course.
I undoubtedly will. I'm a data geek and I want to get my hands on information. But I also want to say, and I have to be careful how I say this because this will be a public podcast, your leaders in what this association does is up there with the best local associations that I've ever seen in the business.
That's awesome to hear.
And I'd like to even push that a little further, but I don't want to make my friends back home mad. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I am wildly impressed with all that you guys are doing here at this at RWorld.
Thank you. We talked a little bit, touched on some of the realtors' legislative meetings. Besides, the people that we meet when we go on these trips and go to these conventions and being the person in the room, why else do you think that it's important to stay involved? Not only with your local association, whether that be back home or down here, local association, state association, national association. Obviously, we've got good training. We've got some education when we go to these conferences. But what else stands out to you that people should really be making sure that they're staying staying involved.
Well, if you're serious about the business, it really isn't even a choice. I mean, look at me. So I love when agents tell me, I don't have time for that. Really? Come do my schedule for 7 days and let's see how you do.
Yeah, we'll talk about how much time you got.
I'm involved here with you guys. I'm involved with our state a bit still. I was involved very deeply for years. I'm involved in local associations at home. I'm involved nationally. Right. Now, it's not my whole day, but I make sure to go to the awards events, go to the dinners, make sure to see people. Now I'm past chair of one committee, National Conventional Lending and Finance. Yep. I'm current this year and next year as chairman, co-chair of Communities of Interest Committee, which is a new one. But it is a necessary part of the business. Now, if you're a broker owner, you need to do it at a higher level like I'm doing, like you're doing.
Right.
If you're not a broker owner, I don't think you necessarily have to be involved at that high of a level, but should you be involved and get involved in committees? Absolutely, you're making a mistake if you don't.
Right. Besides that, let's talk about some tips. What kind of tips can you share with your branding is like incredible. Yeah. Your marketing is incredible. After we had come back last year, I think it was 2 years ago maybe, we had come back home from one of the conventions, I think it was DC, and here you are on my TV, and there's Lamacchia talking about his company. I'm like, that guy, come on.
Yeah, you're thinking, I'm not going to escape him. I'm not going to.
No, he's here to stay.
Yeah.
So what kind of vital tips can you share with everybody who's listening?
The more you tell, the more you sell. Okay?
That's a good one.
I have always been a big believer in marketing. I was fortunate to grow up working in a small family business in the landscaping business, and I was enamored at a very young age at the impact of marketing and how my dad would send out 4 or 5 or maybe 10,000 postcards, and he would have 150 calls at that time on his voicemail. Not voicemail, wow. Was it the answering machine?
Yeah.
Literally, this is like the 90s or late 80s, and and my dad would say, my answering machine is overflowing, and I'm like 10 years old, and I'm like, that's pretty damn cool. Right. So when I get into real estate, I started sending postcards out, hoping I'd have the same results, and you don't. It's not as impactful postcards as compared to a business like that. But the overarching point that I'm getting at is you have to put a certain amount of money into branding yourself, into branding your name, into branding your business. And, now we're a brokerage model. It used to be Anthony. About the last 8-9 years, I've gotten away from that. And other than on TV, it's our logo. We put our logo all over billboards. Here in South Florida, I think we have 2 billboards on 95. Yep. But up north, we have 40 to 50 at all times on all major highways, digital billboards everywhere. Plus television, plus radio, plus we're in the sports arenas. Same playbook I play up north, I'm going to slowly but surely play here because it works. And you have to do it over a period of time. And you have to understand that you are not going to see immediate results. The biggest mistake that people make with marketing is they think they're going to have instant gratification. And that is not how it works.
I see that all the time.
They think it's just going to be right away.
People think they're going to send out one postcard and all of a sudden the phone's going to start ringing, and they do it for 3 months and then they stop. It's like you just wasted all that money because nobody's going to call you in the first 3 months. Correct.
The other thing is, so if you're listening and you're a single agent and you're working in a certain area, start small. Start with branding yourself. I always say to your family and friends first. First people you send a postcard to is family and friends, your sphere. Right. And you need to hit them with a postcard every single month. That's what I did. There was no social media when I started, right? I mean, it was MySpace, but I don't think I ever went on it. But I'm aging myself, right? 19 years ago I started. But you start with postcards to your sphere of influence, then postcards to a farm area, right? And when you can afford both. But like you just said, you can't do it for 3 months and then have nothing left. Right. Has to be consistent over time. Social media, we shouldn't even have to spend a minute on that. You have to be doing it. You have to be on Instagram, have to be on Facebook.
Well, Instagram is where people find out if you're legit.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's pretty funny that that's not a joke.
It's not a joke.
People do look.
My sister-in-law told me, she said, whenever I go to search out a product, I'm going to go to Instagram first. Yeah. And I'm going to find out, is this company legit? Do they have good reviews? Do they have a lot of likes? And if they do, she feels comfortable using them. I'm like, I never thought about that.
Now, let me ask you a question. Your sister's younger, right?
Yep.
I knew it because my brother does the same thing. My brother's 8 years younger. And we'll be talking about going out to dinner somewhere, and he's like, oh, let me check the reviews. It doesn't even come into my mind to check the reviews. No. I just look online. It looks like it has good Italian food. All right, let's go there.
Exactly.
But it's funny how it goes. But people have to start that way, and then obviously you grow and scale from there. When I started on television, I was spending $6,000 a month in 2006, and that was a lot for me. Happened to be at a time that I got a lot of listing calls because there were a lot of listings, so I hit the timing right. But now we are always investing in our brand. Now we spend that in a day, some days. But it's necessary. You need to do it.
Yeah. I mean, if a company's as big as yours is, obviously you got to spend some money on marketing. I mean, you got to keep it going. You got to keep the branding consistent, like you said. So everybody's got a story to tell. Everybody's got a unique niche market that they can influence. So why is it important for realtors to be telling their story and being, you touched on being consistent with marketing, but being consistent with their goals and striving for success?
Well, the best way I can describe this, the best example I can give is if you follow me on Instagram at AJ Lamacchia or on Crush It in Real Estate on Facebook or Instagram.
Okay.
Pay close attention to something. The videos that I do that I look terrible after a run, my hair's sticking straight up in the air, I'm sweating, my t-shirt's sticking to me. Almost, not every time, but almost every time, those videos do better than when I'm in a suit and tie preaching from the office.
Because people want to see you being real.
You just said it. You just said it. And that's the whole reason I was able to get Crush It in Real Estate to 45,000 followers on Facebook, because they're seeing the real me. They had seen me in suits on television for years, but they didn't get to see the real me. And now I've moved it over to Instagram. And I'll be honest, I delayed getting serious on Instagram, and that was a mistake. 10 months ago, I started really focusing on it, and now I'm making progress. But if you scroll my videos, you will see the ones that I'm got a hat on and a hoodie, and I'm just talking about, how to have a crush it mindset or talking about something with real estate. Those ones go crazy. And that goes right back to what you just said, story. People want to know the real you.
Yep.
So if you're trying to build your audience, you're trying to build your sphere of influence, be you. You can't look perfect all the time.
Nope.
I have a friend on the South Shore of Massachusetts, and she told me, God, you're growing your Instagram so much faster than mine. I know you have a bigger audience, but what should I do different? I said, honestly, you look perfect all the time. I said, every time I see you, you're in these knockout dresses and this. And I said, what about the real
relatable.
you? What about you when you go running on a Sunday morning and your hair's in a ponytail? What about that? No makeup.
Right.
No makeup. Oh my God. I said, yeah, why not? Then when you put makeup on, you look even better because they saw you normal. Like, come on.
Right.
So that's my answer to how to tell your story, is just be you.
Okay. So suppose you were going to talk to your younger self. What are you going to tell the young Anthony? What kind of advice? You're just starting out in real estate. Mm-hmm. What's your advice to your younger self?
Number one, get involved in the Realtor Association sooner.
Okay.
Number two, I would have told my younger self, don't think that what you are using for advertising will always work, because the markets change. And I just touched on that about 2 minutes ago.
Yep.
06, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, market was crashing. Then it was in the rut. I'm on TV saying, if I don't sell your home in 70 days, I'll buy it. Phone was ringing off the hook.
I bet.
And I thought, I'm just going to get rich and do this forever. It's going to be easy, right?
How many homes did you end up with?
I bought two. I bought 2 homes. I had some other close calls. But here's the funny thing. If I ran that ad today, if I don't sell your home in 70 days, I'll buy it. If I ran that ad today, you know how many calls I'd get? None.
0.
Because everybody say, what the hell are you doing for the other 69 days?
Exactly.
But at that time, I thought, I was 25 years old. I'm literally on TV, 25 years old with that ad. And at that time, I thought, this is it. I struck gold. Well, I didn't realize, now I get it 100%. Guaranteed sale programs don't work in low inventory markets. When high inventory comes back, it'll work better. There's just a lot of market nuances that I didn't pay as much attention to until around 2011, because we were starting to come out of it then. And that's what got me to start paying attention to the market, pay attention to the numbers, inventory levels, homes listed, all the things you mentioned.
Sure.
And you need to do that sooner. If you started in this business 1 month ago, you need to download that app that Chris said, and you need to literally at least monthly spend 2 hours in there looking at all the data and knowing what the hell is going on in the market.
Absolutely. Fantastic advice. I know that you're busy, and you guys, if you were not listening to us as of 8 a.m., you need to wake up earlier like Lamacchia does. So one last question before we go. And because you're New England and down here in South Florida,
yep.
I always ask everybody, give me like a South Florida gem that somebody maybe doesn't know about, whether that be like a cool, well, obviously you don't drink coffee, so you're not doing the coffee shops, but good restaurant, Italian restaurant, favorite beach spot, something like that. And you can give me one for Boston, you can give me one for down here.
My favorite restaurant in Fort Lauderdale is Il Molina on Sunrise Boulevard.
Fantastic.
So
restaurant.
Good.
Yeah,
so good.
Really good.
Clams,
and that's been there forever.
I've been going there, I don't know, a few times a year for 5-6 years, but the place is fantastic. And I will tell you, at some point...
I got a feeling like you know good Italian food.
I mean, I do. Anthony Joseph Lamacchia. I mean, I can't get any more Italian.
That got us starting landscape construction.
Right? I mean, literally with stones.
Yes, stereotypical.
But I'll tell you, at some point, my primary residence will be down here. down the line. I have 4 children. My youngest is 6, so he's going to be 7 next month. But at some point, I'll be spending 183 days a year here, and you can probably guess one of the reasons for that, not just the weather.
yeah. Hey, fantastic. I'll make sure to get you out on the boat. We'll go do some fishing.
I didn't know you fish.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Oh, we need to go fishing.
Okay, sounds good to me. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to RWorldTalk, and we will see you next Friday morning at 8 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.